Hello and welcome back to Raging Loop. Look at the new Discord overlay. I do not want it, thank you. We have, in the last episode, finally, as the chapter title says, finally arrived at the place where I expected it to go at some point. We are now a wolf. And we'll see, actually let me load this. Should be the same, but anyway. We'll see what that now means for us. And how difficult it is being made for someone that is a wolf to, not do wolf things. We've already learned in the past episode that you are being threatened by death to kill humans, essentially. But I'm pretty sure that cannot be all, because based on the reactions of, or like the acts and personalities of people in the previous timelines, they changed not that much. I think being a wolf just like brought out more of their dark side in a sense. In that, like, the personality didn't change completely. They were still the same person, but sort of those bad attributes came out a lot stronger. But I still think that just, the threat of being killed by the big bad isn't enough to make that happen. So I wonder if there's more. Or if just, like, essentially being forced to kill their friends and families brings about that change naturally. So, well, we'll see. Oops. I always gotta remember whether it's enter or space to go forward. My body hurt. The familiar sensation made me open my eyes slightly. I saw the bright but shabby inside of the prefab. Through the dirty, curtainless window, I saw the mist outside. This was reality, wasn't it? I lifted my upper body, turned a bit, moved my head, pinched my cheek. It all felt real. I then tried to stand, and I could. Looking at my phone, which was about to run out since this place had no electricity, I saw the correct date and that it was 8 o'clock. I'd slept in pretty late. Remembering something, I lifted the bottom of my shirt and looked at my stomach. What I saw made me freeze. The Lord of the Hunt, the wolf, slay all the Yomibito, cleanse and purify, or die. It wasn't a dream, or was it? Cleanse, purify, dream. At first, we thought the people of Kami Fujiyoshi just made it up to make fun of us. But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai-sama himself. On the day Oji died, he showed up in my dreams and told me about it. Great Lord Shinai told the real story through dreams, making the people of Yasumizu change drastically. They went from those who hunted wolves to those who hunted humans. It wasn't clear which side was right. I didn't even know if there was a right side to this. But I didn't feel much. I didn't get any sort of hatred for the humans or motivation to kill. The first time Yasunaga, Tai, and Haru all had some sort of cold, calm anger toward the humans. Last time Chimi had said that she was intent on killing me from the start. As for Mochi, my first impression of him was weird but harmless kid, and that somehow became insane killer. We had our reasons for doing what we did, and we had to keep doing it until the end. So stop it with the questions, they're a pain. However, she'd also said that she was struggling, and it didn't sound like it had anything to do with what she wanted. Regardless of what you were like before, you became a wolf by getting the wolf as your guardian. What was Mamiya like in that regard? She had worked as a wolf, but that was either just to survive or because she was urged by Chiemi. There was no zeal or loyalty there, so she ended up being silenced. That meant that the real story only worked on the people of Yasumizu. That was the only way things made sense. But if that dreamlike experience was true, then this time the wolves were Haru, Kari, and I, right? I had seen them in the mist and red light, and they certainly didn't look right. I wasn't sure if it was actually a matter of sanity, but they just accepted the event as natural. A change born from the real story, an event set up from the start. No, I also had to consider the possibility that it was just a dream, and that me being chosen as a wolf had nothing to do with it. I still couldn't be sure if they were the other wolves. I absolutely couldn't just go to the dining hall and ask them if they were. I had to wait until tonight. Suddenly, Fuzashi, you okay? Haruaki, are you alive? Haruaki. Someone knocked on my door. I quickly wiped off the bloody guardian mark on my stomach. It was dry, so it came off easily. I washed my hands in the bucket and unlocked the door. You're okay. Haruaki, I'm so glad. I saw Takumi armed with a farming tool, and Chiemi, who was so happy about my survival she had tears in her eyes. The fact that she was the same person as this vicious mass murderer made it difficult to be happy about this development. If this was an act, this reminded me that she herself had told me I had a bad eye for women. Without any of that, she'd really seemed like nothing but a gentle, cute young woman. We carefully walked through the mist. The mist actually came. I heard it's a bad sign, is it? How much have you heard exactly? That someone always dies when it comes? Who the hell told that to a damn newcomer? That aside, did someone die? No. No one's dead yet. Good. Has everyone gathered already? Yeah, in a dining hall. Sorry we came to pick you up pretty late. Everyone's panicking because of the mist. Sorry for making you wait. Must they'd come for me last. I was at the bottom of the totem pole here. And despite that, I was a wolf. Crap. How was I supposed to survive Kanzo's Can You Just Die today? Hold on. What was I thinking? Was I actually going to fulfill my role as a wolf? I would actually create those awful piles of corpses? I didn't want to do that. I wasn't beholden to some weird legend. There was no need for me to play along with this insanity. Honestly, I could just reveal who the wolves were on the first day. I would keep the sacrifices minimal, and no, that would result in my own death. I had to think carefully. I had to survive and escape the loop. This wasn't a matter of just leaving Yasumizu or Fujiyoshi. I'd actually ended the feast once and escaped, yet the death loop still continued. Hell, the Feast of the Yomi Purge and the general mystery surrounding Fujiyoshi still wasn't over. Honestly, I had no confidence if I'd been of the right mind when I decided to actually move to Fujiyoshi. It felt like all the characters and stage props here were gathered to bring about nothing but tragedy. Until I'd solved all the mysteries here, the supernatural forces here would continue to terrorize me no matter how far I ran. There was the possibility that surviving as a wolf would solve everything, though that wasn't a pleasant thought. Perhaps I'd come back to life, return from Yomi over and over because of the local Yomi inhabitants, so in order to solve this I had to become a wolf and kill them all. Right. This could be the right path. Haruaki? What? What's wrong? Something bothering you? I'm kinda worried. I'm actually quite the scaredy cat. Can't blame you. Would I have to kill them too? Can you handle blood? Why are you asking? No person died, but, well... Their expressions turned dark. I saw the plaza. There are 3 wolves. Just like last time, Tai Yamawaki was at the Okiba with 3 Yomotsu Okami symbols painted on it. What do you mean? I'll tell you later. The exchange was exactly as I remembered. I still knew about all this, so I had to be careful to stay in character. I couldn't forget that just about everyone here had their first feast today. They didn't have the knowledge or experience, and no one had killed anyone yet. If I went and said something weird, they'd suspect me, so I had to act like the confused newbie. As I approached the plaza, I noticed a strange stench. Though it resembled the smell of death, I was now intimately familiar with. This one felt more beastly. Just what is that stench? You shouldn't look. I disregarded her warning and headed toward the source of the smell. Huh. There was a pile of corpses in the middle of the plaza, though they weren't human. From what I could tell, they were the remains of mid-sized 4-legged beasts. They looked like dogs, but their bodies were in such a terrible shape I wouldn't have been able to tell if they were foxes, tanuki, or wolves instead. Some had their limbs or heads removed, and a lot were just cut up really badly. Bloody fur, eyes open so wide you'd think they'd fall out. If I had to guess, there were at least 20 of these here in this pile. It was about as tall as the back of a smaller adult. It reeked badly, but more than that, it was just disturbing. Crimson fur, countless fangs, claws, eyes. This seemed like an original idea for a fantasy monster. Indeed, monster was very apt. It was almost a monument dedicated to the Yomotsu Okami. Perhaps this was the example this time? Don't touch it. We're throwing it in Saranaga later. I wasn't planning on touching it. It was basically a heap of potential diseases. Wouldn't dumping it in a river be illegal though? Screw it. This wasn't the time to worry about stuff like that. Haruaki, you seem strangely calm. Well, you see dog corpses in every town now and then. Not sure how I'd feel if it was a person. I don't think I've ever seen a dog corpse, but alright, Haruaki. It probably wouldn't affect me much at this point, to be honest. I've seen too many horrible human corpses. That being said, I also don't think I've ever seen a human corpse. Wait. No, I don't think I have. Like when I was doing civil service in the ambulance, I saw a person that later died in the hospital, presumably, but I don't think they were dead when I was there yet. So I don't think I have. You're alive. Outside the dining hall there was Kanzo Makishima, gun in hand. Along with him was Sashi. Good morning. At the entrance there were Mamiya, who looked uneasy, and Hashimoto, who looked strangely composed. After greeting them, I went inside. Haruaki Sashi is okay too. That's everyone then. My, what a relief. I looked around and yeah, everyone was here. A total of 16. What a party. At one seat there was Haru. Her face was pale and her 2 friends were seated next to her. It's safe in here. Wanna eat? I just can't. She'd hated the mist before, but this time it seemed even worse. She also made herself as small as possible, and it felt like she was averse to their care. This seemed like a mix of her fear of the mist and the rejection of the villages she'd had as a badger. Oh, I'd say she's just the greatest scaredy cat here. Scaredy cat. She was always really afraid of all the corruption talk. Maybe she was just scared of getting corrupted. That's why I don't think Haru could kill anyone if she was a wolf. A girl who was afraid of the corruption. It had started 8 years ago when she tried to visit Yasumizu when it was covered in mist and saw something. That had to be it. The idea, or certainty, that the people around her were Yomibito had to scare her pretty badly. Maybe she really was a wolf. Kaori, on the other hand, looked okay. That thought came too soon. A moment later, I heard a crash from behind the counter. I'm so sorry. I will clean it up. Oh, let me handle it. Hey, I'm supposed to be working here. Sorry for not helping. Without waiting for a response, I hurried behind the counter. There was broken porcelain on the floor, along with some rice and soup. The same food as last loop, basically. I already knew what was where in the kitchen, so I wetted a cloth, wrung it out, and started wiping it up. Then I spread out a newspaper and collected the porcelain. Suddenly, I felt something touch my upper arm. Turned around and saw Kaori crouching and staring at the floor with a pale expression. She was shaking. I could tell from her touch. There were tears in her eyes, and her half-open mouth made her look like she was about to sob. Her whole body was basically saying that she couldn't bear this. Kaori isn't feeling too good. Yasunaga, Yoshitsugu, can you come over? Huh? Mom, are you okay? Don't force yourself, hag. As they helped her get up the stairs, Kaori looked at me with eyes that seemed both pleading and scornful. It felt like she was asking if she really had to kill these wonderful children with her own hands. This mission was too much for her to bear, and from what I could tell, she wanted to share the burden with me to make it easier for herself. It was safe to assume that the dreamlike experience had, indeed, showed me the other wolves. Calm down. Though it seemed pretty conclusive to me, this was just day one. We had the mist, the wolf symbols, and the pile of dog corpses, so it wasn't weird for a sensitive woman to become a bit sick. Even Chiemi and Hisako didn't look so good. The only ones who were clearly okay were Rikako, who looked like a no mask most of the time, and Meiko, who probably had her eyes hidden. So as long as they didn't act any more suspicious, it was all good. I'll serve the food. Chikamochi, can you get me a bowl from that shelf? Well, you already know where everything is. You can call me Mochi, though. I might have been the one in trouble here. I told him to call me Hassan and decided that I had to act more ignorant of things. After we ate, I pretended to be busy in the kitchen. Chiemi and Rikako looked like they wanted to talk, but I avoided them because I felt like I might accidentally spill the beans to them. Of course, we had to wait until Takumi and the Oribe brothers cleaned up the plaza, and I had tons of things to wash. Last time, the feast began at about 9, but now that Kaori had gone to bed for a second time, it would have to happen later. It didn't show any signs of starting even at noon, so we had lunch. You gotta use the shishi. I'll cut it up. You can't boil rice in a kettle? Screw it, I'll do it. I got some unexpected help, so I ended up having only to cut the veggies and add spice. We ended up with lots of decent rice and pork boar soup. I hadn't expected Yoshitsugu to know how to boil rice. It probably helped out Kaori a lot. How? Feel like eating? Yeah, and don't call me by name. Apologies, my lady. Stop it, Andy man. I hadn't accepted that name, but trying to resist it would have probably made her antagonistic toward me, so I just laughed it off. I'm sorry for making you worry. What a nice smell. Who made it? Haruaki. Yoshitsugu and I helped out. Oh my. Thank you, Yoshitsugu. And what about me and Chiemi? I just spoiled some rice. Do you think you can eat? Yes, I'll have some. Everyone noticed that her face was as pale as before, but no one pointed it out. Kanzo was beginning to become irate, and it was clear we had to begin the feast soon. We're doing it after eating. Everyone, even Kaori, understood what was going to happen. No. 2 people didn't. Well, I understand that the road is blocked, but can't we get out by crossing the stream below? It's dangerous. I understand how you feel, but it might be best to just wait for help. Senizawa just said that no one would come. What's going on here? No need to rush it. Ma'am, you will explain it to us, yes? Yes, I'll tell you about the feast later. Do it now. I don't want to participate in something I know nothing about. No need for that. Hearing them talk made me nervous, but at least they kept everyone on their toes. Or was that a bad thing for us wolves? The only thing the humans could do against the wolves was lynch, so we had to keep their motivation to do that to a minimum. At the very least, that was relatively easy today, when no one had died so far. Kanzo Makishima would definitely insist we hang someone, and I had to somehow shoot him down. Of course, I had to avoid standing out in a way that would affect my chances further down the line. It's time. Go to the hall. We all lined up, and the eldest went in first. They joined their hands and hid their faces. It was a unique sight. And once again, I copied them. Like last time, I ended up at the lower end of the group, but the complete outsiders were below even me. Is this really okay with you? I'd be in a way if it wasn't at one end of the group, right? I couldn't give any strong agreement, so I just gave him a light in response. Taya declared the start of the feast, and Rikako handed out some divine sake. Aren't you driving? Won't be for a while. Hashimoto drank 3 full cups without anyone urging him to, and Mamiya griped that he was drinking too much. What actually happens when they run out of sake? He'd also had 3 more helpings of lunch. It was appropriate for someone his size, so I hadn't even commented on it. With him being the first to drink, the rest of us were a bit taken aback. Then Taya explained the legend and the feast. That sounds like a crime to me. Just like last time, after asking this and that, Mamiya eventually took that strong stance on the whole thing. But if we don't do it, we will die ourselves. But let's listen until the end, then we'll have time for questions and we can share our thoughts. Okay. Mamiya still had a stern expression, but her cool temperament made her seem like a completely different person from last time. After that, Yasunaga pointed out things Taya missed, like the amount of people the wolves could kill, the extra info on the spider, and whether any of us were in the feast before. Then, how do you know if you have a guardian? Hashimoto, who wasn't here last time, quickly pointed out more info that was missing. Kanzo then explained that they appeared on the stomach. I see. So that's why cleaning your body is one of the rules. A god doesn't want to touch sweaty skin. You talk more than I expected. Oh, my apologies. I'm only quiet when I work. It makes it easier, so I restrain myself. He smiled, astonishing everyone yet again. At this point, all the rules except for the badger had been revealed. Well, we kinda went off track, but what do we do now? We got some dead dogs, but it's not like a person died, right? What if it's just someone in Kami Fujiyoshi trying to intimidate us? Ba said that it happens often. That was news to me. Well, my Oba said that the people from there used to release shishi blood into the field water. I do not believe they still do that. From what I can tell, most of the people there just downright ignore Yasumizu. There's barely anything connecting the two places anyway. Some from the hunting industry have ties to Kanzo Makishima, but they seem to respect you. Not sure I trust that. Well, Kanzo is the only one who can hunt at the base of Shinai. That was some interesting info. Anyway, good point. The only ones still trying to do something bad to Yasumizu are schoolchildren and the village heads. Again with the unfair mudslinging. The village heads are far too busy for that. Unfair? The whole mountain festival seems like one big Yasumizu bullying event. I think we could even take them to court and win over it. By the way, Chikamochi. What? You're not the one doing this, are you? Ah, that's possible. It was? It's too bad. I'm flattered that you thought of me, but I didn't do it. Have you even seen that pile of dead dogs? How could I even do that? Good point. When I was still in Osato, I had them buy me a lot of guinea pigs for my birthday, and I played around by drowning them in a pond. What? Sorry, that's just how he is. You suck. Yeah, not doing it anymore. If you're gonna kill something, make it mice or cockroaches. Yeah, I'll kill tons of mice. I could tell that the weirdos here were making Mamiya uncomfortable, but Hashimoto was unfazed as always. I had a feeling that the new info I was hearing here came from the fact that no one had died, so tension levels were low. What was that about that harmless weird kid earlier? As I said, I think he's always been a psychopath. Anyway, what do we do about the feast? Can I suggest something? He made the first move. I recalled hearing that Takumi was the one who moved first the very first time. He'd revealed that he was the snake. Last time one of the monkeys, Kanzo, suggested that I die. The flow of events had changed, so maybe he didn't have the Guardian this time? Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to decide who had and didn't have Guardians based on that alone. Just adding Hashimoto had changed the course of discussion completely. And this time Chiyomi was the girl that criticized Fujiyoshi with her city dweller mentality, basically bringing her back around to how she was in the first loop. Last time, besides the strong words on day one, she stayed passive, only hesitantly making moral objections. By becoming a wolf, she'd greatly changed her approach to the feast. Now there was Kyunosuke. I'd expected him to suggest we use a popular vote, but I believe he should become our courageous representative. He said that, while pointing at me. Are you telling me to die? I don't want to use such strong language, but I heard that's what you came here for. It's hard to choose the first one, but when the first hanging does happen, the crow can reveal themselves. I didn't expect that idea to come from him. That was basically the same approach as Kanzo's. Hadn't he voted for me the first day too? Crap. I'm sorry, but do you have any idea what you're saying? Yeah, how can you tell someone to die for no reason? They said on TV that the first one to talk's the shadiest one. If he was by himself, his suggestion would have no effect. However, I'm with the scrawny Nosato. His agreement was bad news for me. What are you talking about? A human can die for Yasumizu's sake. I can do that too, but I need to watch the feast a bit longer. Why the hell would we need that? I've survived 2 feasts. He was telling us now. I know what we gotta do. We gotta hang, and if humans are afraid of hanging, humans will lose. Uematsu, pour him some more. Crap. Things were moving on just like last time. I played it off with some vague words back then, but would it work now? Let's calm down. It's extremely dangerous to decide who dies based on only one side of the table. I understand some of what Kanzo is saying, but we can just as easily say that he's a wolf. Wolves can use logic too. Just because something makes sense doesn't mean we should accept it without question. Yasunaga, what is right in this situation? Why must we hang anyone? According to Tai, we're not allowed to kill anyone outside the feast. Breaking this law means death. There are 16 of us here. 13 are humans, 3 are wolves. If we do the feasts and randomly kill one every day, we can get rid of the wolves eventually. But if we don't, our chances are 0. If we skip out on the killings during the feasts, the wolves would just kill one each night and we would quickly die. However, not even I'm sure. If there are wolves here, I really don't know if they would kill people. If this is just simple mist, then the rest is just some sick joke. Wolf is really coming. Everyone was surprised that he suddenly began to speak. I was pretty used to it by now, though. Listen, wolves aren't as simple as I seem. Yomi's the mountain. He spread the corrupt because the mountain said so. Yomi is the mountain? What nonsense is that? Shinai is on the human side. Mountain doesn't take side. Mountain's whimsical and cruel. If it's hungry, it'll eat the people it raised. We got a feast. Not much he said came as a surprise to me, but I sure didn't expect to hear it from him. I wasn't the only one. The weird way he presented it made most people here uneasy and maybe even scared. Old fart's been in feasts before. He might be senile, but he remembers it. A wolf's gotta hang. Excuse me. Everyone looked at me with sharp eyes. How were the people you hanged chosen in the previous feasts? We voted. I'd guessed as much. Apparently the popular vote was tradition at this point. And you think we should do that this time too? What about everyone else? My question caused some whispers among the people. Can we really decide like that? I know what you mean. We'd be condemning people to death by popular vote. It's too cruel. But there's no better way to choose. We can talk it out. If that doesn't work, we shouldn't hang anyone at all. You think we would reach a consensus like that? There's no way the potential victim would agree. Alright, anyone who volunteers to die for us, raise your hand. Jimmy had used this to gain everyone's trust. Rikako had used this to convey to me that Meiko had a guardian. Basically, it was just pure strategy. If they didn't need to take the risk this time, they simply wouldn't do it. That meant that it was likely that Meiko didn't have a guardian this time. What was I to do here? I thought for a moment and concluded that if I raised my hand here, everyone would gladly hang me. No matter how kind-natured and reasonable they tried to appear, they actually didn't care much about me. Jimmy and Rikako would value me more than most, but there was no argument that they favored their own. I could totally imagine them prioritizing everyone else and tearfully voting for me. Otherwise, if my fate had already been decided at that point, they would vote for someone else to send them a message or keep them on their toes. It was definitely a dangerous situation for me. There was one way that might have been able to save me though. I could do what I'd done last time. By sounding like I could be an asset to them, I'd buy time for myself, and finally reveal that I had a guardian. I'd have to make sure the real one with said guardian was gone at that point though. That meant using the time I had to find and kill them. Could I really do that though? We've got no one. You talk big. What about you though? I can't die yet. Oh wait, here's a warning. Those with guardians should be especially careful. What do you mean? He went on to give the starting warning, that those with guardians should keep their status hidden. However, it was better to go against that warning when a snake or crow found a wolf or when a fake appeared, and the monkeys were an exception to that. The explanation for the monkeys was the same as last time. The thing about the snake or the crow finding a wolf, as well as the appearance of a fake, weren't mentioned back then. Those with guardians are likely to be targeted, so it's best for them to be quiet. But there are situations in which it is advantageous to speak up or disadvantageous to keep quiet. The prime examples of these situations are the appearances of fakes or when someone discovered a wolf. You sure we'll have fakes? No doubt about it. Yasunaga went and briefly explained that wolves had to actively lie to win. He also added that humans should avoid lying as much as possible. The only ones who lie in the feast are the wolves. Making that a rule should spare us some trouble. That's what I think, Kanzo. What about you? Everyone got it. This was the time. Kanzo and Yasunaga spent a lot of the beginning last time fighting over the lead despite both being monkeys. With Haru and Taya's death, the one in charge ended up being Takumi. If a calm and collected Takumi ended up assisting Yasunaga like last time, the wolves would be at a huge disadvantage. Now if Kanzo ended up in charge and controlled the feast with an iron fist, the order would collapse, perhaps to our advantage. However, that would increase my chances of getting killed. I had to find the balance. Yes. I nonchalantly yet unhesitantly raised an arm. A few others followed my lead. Chimi, Rikako, Kaori, Yoshitsugu, Kiyonosuke, Takumi, Mamiya, Hashimoto, Mochi. I'm fine with that. He backed down. Yasunaga and everyone who raised their hands accounted to 12. The clear majority. His polite, calm explanation bore fruit. But was Kanzo the type to back down in a situation like this? Oh, we're hanging wolves by a vote. Ah, so he had conditions for his agreement. Fine by me. Talking ain't getting us anywhere. Hell, all that talking would just get us to the same result as the vote, won't it? Well, you have a point. Takumi, what do you think? Alright. This has got to be a joke. The bartering with Yasunaga had made Takumi agree to something he'd been completely disapproving of. Jimmy had realized that she had to accept it, so she'd given up on arguing and only complained. Kanzo had a tendency to strong-arm people to get what he wanted, but he was good at it. So, we got derailed a bit. We hanging Fusashi? Things were looking bad for me. Suddenly I got help from where I least expected it. Okay, who do we least expect to help us? Haru? Meiko? I think those Tai is also probably something that would be very unexpected. One of those three. Oh, I mean, I don't think that's that unexpected. If you ask me, I don't believe we should hang anyone today. Today? I don't think we should do it at all. If it's a matter of kill or be killed, I would kill. His tone was calm, but his words were terrifying. I have a wife and 3 daughters waiting for me at home. Mamiya's eyes widened. She must have realized just how serious he was. You did mention that you don't intend to die for your work. Yes, that's why I carefully listened to what everyone here said. And I think that lynching someone first would give the wolves a reason to start killing. That was a general observation that no one argued against, probably because they didn't have a good comeback. I more or less understand the rules now. Can I say something that's on my mind? Thank you. If I'm getting something wrong, you there. You seem to know how things work, so please point it out. Huh? Oh, okay. Now, in this process, at least 5 people will die. A minimum of 3 wolves and 2 humans killed at night. Yes, at least as long as the spider doesn't protect the humans. That means that someone will die tonight, regardless of whether we lynch someone today. That's not wrong. But if we don't hang someone today, the feast will continue without any dead wolves. That's odd. Today's lynching is to let the crows show themselves, right? It's unlikely that it would be a wolf. Would it really be effective overall? I won't say it would be worthless, but imagine hearing this tomorrow. I am the crow, the one lynched yesterday. Fusashi was a human. Now, even if it turns out he was a wolf, we would believe the crow just because no other crow spoke up against him. What would happen then? We would have 14 humans and 2 wolves. The chance of getting a wolf would drop from about 19% to about 14%. From what I see, the endgame would be after some people have died, regardless if that happens sooner or later. So I'm not sure if we should lynch anyone today without any evidence. Well, you might have a point. That's sophistry. We humans can't win if we don't hang anyone. Yes, but I believe that it's worth waiting for just one day. If we lynch someone today, the wolves would realize that they really would get killed, effectively justifying their killings. Now, if they strike first, the humans could unite to avenge the victim. I'll say it again. Someone will definitely die tonight, regardless if we lynch someone or not. That is, assuming the wolves are serious about this. However, the lynching today, or lack thereof, would change whether tonight's victim would be considered the wolves' revenge or their vile preemptive attack. Basically, I believe that we can't be strong enough to lynch people until the wolves kill someone. Personally, I hope that such restraint would make the wolves hesitate and not kill anyone. Is that possible? No. Wolf is coming. I see. Even so, attacking someone when there's no victim is extremely stressful. I simply believe that sacrificing someone who is most likely human and sowing discord between us is much worse than simply letting someone die at night and unifying us. He had a point. As a general rule, it was disadvantageous for the humans to waste an opportunity to lynch. However, making a preemptive attack when you had limited information and the chance of getting a wolf was low was extremely risky. Thus, it was a good option to prioritize emotional superiority and unity. Not many people could argue against this. Hashimoto was just too good of a speaker. the opposite of Kiyonosuke. His suggestion was beneficial for the wolves too, but only for now. It would be far more difficult for us to kill someone tonight. Upon hearing him out, I believe that Hashimoto has a point. We don't fully know each other yet. Killing someone in this situation would be a waste. I thought the same thing. This feast thing is controlled primarily with information, right? What do you mean, Q? You decide who is a wolf by taking time to see who sides with who says something strange. Since you made it a rule that humans can't lie, the wolves who must lie will eventually slip up. It seems right to lynch them once you find them that way. There might even be cases where a single clue can lead you to know who all the wolves are. I see. Detective deduction. I don't know if it would go that well, but by observing what the wolves do and gathering information about them, you can pinpoint someone. And eventually even avoid having to lynch someone, letting us catch up to them. And it's not like we won't learn anything today. The snake will surely find out whether someone is a human or wolf. That's true. Maybe it's best to skip this day to avoid accidentally killing the snake. He presented the likely dissident advantages that could emerge and provided ways to turn them around. It was really effective. Most here didn't want to kill anyone yet, but had to balance out the pros and cons of doing so. If they were told that the negatives could be made up for, they had no reason not to cling to that. Crap, I fell silent. Silent people were considered to be passive accomplices to the wolves. I had to say something. That does seem effective. There's another thing to keep in mind. What would that be? The wolves would definitely prioritize killing the ones with guardians, right? But if we lynched someone today, you would lower the amount of options for them to choose from. Now, if the potential victim of the lynching ended up being one with a guardian, they would have no choice but to reveal it. Since humans can't lie and wolves know each other, they would instantly know if the one claiming to have a guardian was telling the truth. But at this point, there is no benefit for those with guardians to come out. None of them have used their powers to gain any info. And they would only die to the wolves. Yes. That is true. Of course it's not likely you would land on a guardian, but if you hang humans, you would also lower the number of targets for the wolves. There are currently 13 non-wolves, and taking one away would leave 12. The wolves would choose one of them. And the lower the number, the higher the chance that they hit one with a guardian. I'm starting to think that hanging on the first day does more harm than good. I actually thought that this way of handing the wolves was good for the humans. Handing? I think it should be handling. From what I could tell, Kaori and Haru would be found out sooner rather than later. I had my looping and was generally a scumbag, so I wasn't as shaken by the situation as they were, but my situation wasn't exactly solid. I could fall into traps set by humans too. What do you think, Takumi? I don't like that we're continuing on like the wolves will definitely kill someone. But I can understand not killing if we're not getting killed ourselves. Old man? The wolves will kill. Maybe, but still. But I get what the big guy's saying. What? Vote on whether we hang someone today. That'll do. Uematsu, accord. Very well. Oh, I forgot. Huh? You said that the monkeys don't have a reason not to reveal themselves, right? Yes, they can assure one another's legitimacy, which makes them hard to fake, and they have no powers, which makes them unpopular targets. I see. With that in mind, I am a monkey. As for the other monkey, the letters were unclear and hard to read, but it's something da. Yeah, I'm Chikamochi Kamoshida. I'm the monkey. I am the monkey. I am. Stop that. I see, so you're a monkey. Pure relief. Yasunaga was glad that his best friend was definitely not a wolf. Such behavior was a good way to guess whether someone was a wolf or not. Reactions were important. I guess that confirms that this Hashimoto isn't just a wolf acting friendly. Can we start the vote? We gotta decide if we're lynching or not. No. We're deciding if we're hanging today or waiting until someone dies. Once they do, we're hanging people no matter what. Swear it. Yeah. Well, I guess it makes sense. We can't just let them kill us and do nothing. Ty, you ready? Yes. No one has objections? I'm okay with it too. With no more counter-arguments, we began the vote. The results came quick. The only ones who voted to hang someone today were the old wolf guy and Kanzo. Everyone else chose to wait until the wolves made a move, so we didn't hang anyone today.